And I'm trying to tell anybody that will listen, I've been penalized. I'm not supposed to be here.
Just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Great vibe.
I used to run with a stock car series. It was a lot of fun. It was the acronym was CARS, Championship Auto Racing Series. There have been a couple of other CARS series since then. This one was the late 90s to, I think it kept going through 2010, 2015, somewhere in there. So it had a decent life. And it was stock cars, and they ran trucks for a while as well, small block V8s. I think they were actually 305 Chevys. With upgraded pistons and lighter heads and 4-barrel carburetors. And so we ended up without a ton of horsepower, probably 350, 370 horsepower, somewhere in there. And they were nice cars, though. They only weighed probably 2,800 pounds, 2,850. So that was a pretty good power to weight ratio, gave you the feel of a stock car. And they were nice looking late models. They were good looking cars. And the series was run by a guy named Morris Kaufman. And Morris is a great guy. He had a couple of cars that he wanted to get in the hands of some drivers. And so I went out and, got sponsorship and brought it and said, hey, I'm ready to go racing. And he said, okay, let's put something together. So we did. I ended up driving for Morris for 2 years, almost 2 full years. 1999 had a fun season. They did a great job preparing the car. We always ran up front. It didn't win as many races as I think we probably could have and should have. He told me one time. But Morris Kaufman also ran the entire series. So you've got Morris running the series and entering a team with 2 team drivers. So some people thought it was a conflict of interest, but he was like, look, I own the thing and we need the car count and we're going to get guys out there. So that's what he did. By the end of 99, we were getting 20 and 25 car fields, which increased over 30 in 2000. And the fun thing was, even after we started getting fields of 20, 25, and 30 cars, we were still running top 5, top 6 every night. So that didn't affect us. So, I mean, it was genuine and we ran up front. And so I liked it. It was a lot of fun. And I think it was August of 2000. And I ended up, we were running 2 races that night. And first race comes out and they've got me on the pole after qualifications. And I thought, cool, I got a pole. We got a good chance to win. So I'm thinking 2 races, starting on the pole. Your start in the second main event depends on how well you do in the first event. And we're starting up front. We've been fast. I should be able to win a race tonight. This is going to be awesome. And so after qualifying, I'm sitting on the pole, and I missed the driver's meeting. And I don't know, it was on me. It's my fault. So I missed the driver's meeting. Okay, I'm upset, but it's not the end of the world. So I lose my starting position. I have to start at the back of the field. And so then I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna look at the glass half full here. We had 2 races tonight. There's not much of a crowd when the sun is still shining in the afternoon. But when we run the second main event, we're going to have a much bigger crowd later tonight. And I've got my sponsors here. It's in Indianapolis, in my hometown. We're still going to have a great opportunity. All I got to do is get to the front. Then, wherever I finish, I'll transfer that finishing spot into my starting grid for the next race. Glass is half full. We're going to have a great night. So we get ready for the first event, and they're grading the cars. And I'm in a black number 41. And I drove up to the grid and parked right at the tail. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'm going to take this guy because I know this guy. We're faster than him. I want to pass him on the inside. And I'm sitting here analyzing everything. And they had 3 grid workers, one at the front of the field, one in the middle, and one at the back. So the grid worker at the back of the grid comes up, leans inside, pulls my window net out, and he goes, get up front. And I said, I'm not up front. He goes, yeah, you are. And I said, nope, I am on the tail. I am starting on the tail. Looks at his piece of paper. He goes, get up front. I'm not telling you again or you're not starting. Okay. So I drive on up, and the second guy on the grid, he looks down, looks at the side of my car, waves me on up. And I stop and I call him over, and he goes, no, going up. And I said, no, I'm gunning my engine, waving him over. So he stops for a second, comes over, and I said, I'm not supposed to start up there. I told the last guy, and he wouldn't listen. And so he checks his sheet, and he goes, get up there right now. We're starting this race with or without you. Okay. So I drive on up, and the guy at the front of the grid points me to the pole position. And I'm trying to tell anybody that will listen, I've been penalized. I'm not supposed to be here. And nobody will listen. It's really bizarre. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought I'd be trying to cheat and they'd be trying to put me in the back. So I get up there and I click my dad, Nelson, who's on the radio, and he's my spotter. And I say, they keep putting me up front. And he goes, you're not supposed to be there. And I said, I know. He goes, you better get to the back. I said, they won't let me go to the back. They're threatening not to start me. And he said, well, okay, maybe nobody will notice. And I go, okay, Dad, let's just, the only way they're going to let me start this race is to have my original starting position. Well, we were already a fast car. We're starting on the pole, so they drop the green flag, and I tear off like, a bat out of Hades, and we're going down the front stretch, and I look in the rearview mirror, and Dad goes, you're all alone. Take your time. And so we're halfway into the race and cruising right along. And I've got half a straightaway lead by this point in time. And Dad keeps telling me on the radio, he says, look, he goes, you're trying to drive fast. He goes, all you do is hit your marks. He goes, there's nobody that's got anything for you. And so I just slowed down. We settled into an 8 to 10 car length lead and got halfway into the race. And all of a sudden, the black flag comes out. And I went on past and I thought, well, somebody's in trouble. And we're still leading the race, and I come back around again, and the guy's waving the flag, black flag, like crazy. And I go, boy, they're really mad at somebody back there. Just keep on driving. And Dad comes over the radio, and he goes, they're telling me that's for you. I go, what? And he goes, they're telling me that you've got to pull in. And so I click my radio button. We're still out there racing. And I said, listen, if I stay out, we can present our case to the scorers, and I'll tell them what happened. Then, if they take the race away from us, then they do. But if they don't, we've still got a chance. We can at least present our case. And he goes, well, they're awful mad. And I said, so let them get mad. The proper way to do this, if you think about how racing is done, if you have a car that doesn't respond to the black flag, you continue the race. You simply stop scoring them. And then the leaders of the series can hear you out, listen to what you say, and make a judgment. That's how all of racing everywhere for all time has worked. And so I tell Dad, okay, I'm staying out. But if we come in, we've lost for sure. And he says, go for it. Don't blame me a bit. And so after about, it was 3, 4, 5 laps, I'd stayed out a while. They were not happy. They throw the yellow flag. And thought, somebody crash? Nobody crashed. The whole field closes up behind me, and my team owner, who also owns the entire series, walks out onto the track, his face red, screaming and pointing at me, get in. And Dad goes, look, they're not going to start the race again. They're saying they're not going to start it again until you get off the track. And so, okay, I'm leading the field by a mile easily, and we pull in halfway down the backstretch at IRP. There's a little left-handed turn where you can come in. So I pull in, and Morris comes over and says something to me in the window, and I said, listen, when I tell you what happened, you're going to understand. You need to hear me out. He goes, get over there and park. So I go over there and park, and he comes over screaming and cussing up a storm. And I said, every one of your guys told me to go to the front of the field. They weren't going to let me start. You need to hear me out. And he said, well, if the head of NASCAR tells you one thing, but all the underlings tell you another, which do you do? And I said, we're not in NASCAR. That's not what happened. And it's not my fault if you can't tell your own people what the grid is supposed to be. And so he was just livid, just beside himself. And by this time, I'd kind of had it too. And so I packed up my stuff and said, you know what? I think I need to go road racing. And, Morris is a great guy, and he knows how to put a car together, and he's a good driver himself, actually. But he broke his team up that day simply because the standard rule of auto racing is somebody doesn't respond to the black flag, you continue racing, stop scoring them, sort it out afterwards. And so that's why I tell you, when somebody asks me, how many wins do you have at IRP? I have 2.5. And there's the half. And now you know, I never drove for that team again. I never drove in that series again. And it probably all worked out for the better, because at the end of that season, I had an offer to go racing in GT2 sports cars, and we won in our first outing. And I thought, I think this is going to be a pretty good future. And I've been doing it ever since.
Just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Great vibe.